why this film, why Saint Laurent, and what is Saint Laurent for you, what is fashion for you at this moment?
So many questions. Okay. So first, why this film? It's one of my ideas. It's French producers that really wanted to make a film about Saint Laurent. They were searching for a director, and when they saw my previous film, La Polémique, they thought maybe that there would be some relationship between the two universes in terms of aesthetic or whatever. So they call me and say, "Are you interested in Saint Laurent?" I have to say that my first reflex was to say no, because I was very afraid of the biopic style and all these kind of films, which don't like too much. But very quickly I was struck by all the opportunities that the subject would bring me. My main interest, I mean, I like fashion, I'm interested in fashion, but I'm not obsessed with it. My first interest is and remains cinema. And in terms of cinema, for me, Saint Laurent was a fantastic object because, of course, of all the visual stuff, because of all the he's a character of a novel in a way. The character of Saint Laurent, which in France we know well, for me was very touching and yes, like a novel character. And the last thing is, I guess, the period that really interested me. It was really the period of my childhood. I was like 5, 6, 7 in the 70s, and I was watching my parents, and some images really stayed in my mind, and was really interested in that period, which I think is very fascinating in terms of freedom, of changes. And all this together made me say yes to the project, even if I knew it would be difficult and to make it personal, because it was an expensive film. The relationship between cinema and fashion really interested me. The fact that both worlds are a mix of art and industry, and I said to myself, maybe I'm going to put a lot of myself in the character and a lot of my relationship to cinema through Saint Laurent in the film.
It's something for me that, I'm a producer, that it's incredible in the film that, in a way, is a relation between a director and a producer. Something
Exactly.
like that, and how this marriage of convenience, it's absolutely necessary, but that the films exist. And now not only in the films, in other forms of art, something like that is so present between these, the creators and his world, sometimes very strange, and someone that is like le pied sur terre, the feet on the earth, that tries to say, no, you have to go this way, you have to go this way, if you do this and everything. And that for me is a kind of a film about that as well.
I guess I put a lot of my relationship to cinema, and of course Filippo Emmanuel can tell about this, but the relationship between art and industry, it is fascinating. And in cinema, you know this better than me, it is fascinating. If you are Philippe Garrel or James Cameron, it's the result of this marriage that makes the style, So it's very interesting. You cannot separate them. If you want to separate them, I think it's a big mistake. You have to integrate them and think them as a couple, really.
Now I ask Emmanuel, you saw the film, and you knew, I think, Saint Laurent. You were one of the great stars at that period as well. And I think you knew as well Pierre Berger, director now. What you feel, first of all, about the film, the truth about what really happens, what was your relation with all of this, if you have anything to...
No, what I can say that I understand the, excuse me, the fascination that Bertrand had for the personnage, Saint Laurent, for the world. is the main figure of fashion designer, fashion creator. I understand that. And I said to him also, because when he was preparing the film, that's very dangerous to do this kind of film. He did it with such a success, such a bravura. I was very impressed with what he did. At the same time, I understand that Saint Laurent has a strange position in the fashion world. Because we have to remember that he was not alone. He was with a man, very strong character, strong meaning, which is Pierre Berger. And when I wrote to Pierre Berger, who's after the death of Saint Laurent, I said to him, listen, because you were there, Saint Laurent became Saint Laurent. And this part, Bertrand explained exactly well, extremely well, what were the relations, strange relation with fact and love. That was incredible. Eh? And I understand also the part, Saint Laurent was becoming really so addicted to work, to some strange things, very dangerous for his life. In fact, he paid for it. Well, we paid for it, for this kind of, you cannot understand how dangerous is fashion. It's a dangerous way of living, very. And we survive if we understand certain things that are outside of fashion.
Do you regret not having someone like Pierre Berger in your career, or you prefer to have done it like that?
No, it's not my case. It's not very interesting because I was alone. I had many people working with me, of course, but nobody has been as important as Pierre Berger was for Yves Saint Laurent. Saint Laurent was very fragile, in fact, strong and fragile at the same time. I was not a friend of him. I met him different times. No personal relations, but I would thank you. I would appreciate very well the man, because he was very sensitive, he was very elegant, he was a great creator, influencing many people, and of course he had the right place in the fashion world. He left a great memory in the glorious year of fashion, really. And Bertrand explained that very well, I must say, in the very good way, in the sense that people normally has not a classical understanding of fashion, this kind of fashion. I mean, high fashion, because the figure of Saint Laurent is completely complice of the high fashion, more than prêt-à-porter. Because he was creating many things that influenced the life of many women, as Balenciaga did before him, as Christian Dior did also before him. That's a great figure of Chanel, of course, Mademoiselle Chanel. Saint Laurent is not alone in this world of stars. But he has been a great figure. I respect him completely. I respect his life. I respect his work. And I respect Bertrand, who did the dangerous business with putting his step on the step in Saint Laurent. Was very courageous. Thank you for doing what you did.
Remember, we had 2 years ago here at the same place, we had a discussion. We were having lunch together and was preparing the film. And I was asking some questions, not about big stuff, just about small things, details, you know, because everything is in the details. And about the studios, and of course you told me you knew very well Anne-Marie Munoz and Monsieur Jean-Pierre, you knew exactly how it works, and it was very inspiring for me to hear you talking to me about these very small things, these how people talk one to each other, what are the codes, in fact, you know, because it's for me, the most important thing on the film is details.
Philippe, I would like to ask you, now that you are one of leading people in the fashion, what is, how you see all this? Is old-fashioned? Is something that in a way you are related to her, or the fashion now is somewhere already?
Well, no, I think there's what's very interesting about Saint Laurent as well is there's something very timeless about his body of work, and I think that was very nicely shown in the film, in the scene where Valeria Bruni-Tedeschi she puts the gray men's suit, and it's, you know, started saying, she was like, yeah, but I feel a bit masculine, and this, you know, how he empowers women with a lot of freedom and with a lot of flair, and I think that's it's a very special moment of the film, and that's, you know, you were talking all the great people before who did things in fashion, but as Mademoiselle Chanel, it really did something as well for women as well, and I think that was very nicely portrayed there, and I think that's, you know, that doesn't age and is still there.
You feel that now you have something, you can say something new, you can have this kind, someone like, you know, Saint Laurent, Chanel, Balenciaga, with all these, what you say, mythological thing that happens even when they were alive, you know, Balenciaga and everything, that is still possible for young and people that start in the fashion?
Well, I went to school already quite a few years ago, and, you know, first thing they said, everything's been done, and it's true. It's true that it's. I think there was, especially in the Occidental world and Occidental fashion as well, and I think even a lot of taboos as well. They all fell in the last 100 years, and again, liberation of women, empowerment of women. I think that's all been done, and I think it's there's new ways of doing things, and I think technology as well. It's going to lead different ways of using and working with fashion and textiles. But I think this time for like mythical places to arise and stay. I don't know. It's the Andy Warhol syndrome, you know, only 15 minutes. I don't think there will be any more, maybe, of this. But they certainly have a very inspiring legacy.
I ask now Olivier, and after we take, why this kind of fascination by Saint Laurent?
Yeah, it's quite easy to answer because I'm coming from fashion. So when I started fashion, in the same time, I started to collect ideas and sourcing and things like, and naturally, because at that time you could, you know, because Saint Laurent produced a lot of pieces. At the time, let's say 20 years ago, you could find a lot of Saint Laurent. And I was not really related to his style, honestly. It was not the one who was fascinating me at the time. But by the time I went into more knowledge and more, culture about his taste, about his style, simply. And I have to say that because his idea was to do clothes for, you know, classic. He wanted clothes that could be considered out of fashion. This was his idea. And I think it was quite interesting because I'm very interested in things that can endure and that can stay. And because in fashion we are much more interesting than in new things most of the time, I think his position was very interesting. And at the end you can understand that he lost at this game because when he did so perfect things, you know, at the end when it's done, it's done. And so it's part of his decline, I think, after that, you know, during the 80s. And that's why I was very interested in in the project of Bertrand when I heard of it at the beginning. It's because he was interested in the period that to me is the period of Yves Saint Laurent, you know. He didn't build his own style before 60, 65, 66, let's say, and 10 years after, he said everything, so it's done. So that's why I went into contact with Bertrand directly. That's the way it happens. I took my telephone and I gave a phone call to Bertrand. That's the way it started, very simply.
No, it's true. I received a phone call from this man, and he told me, "Yes, I've heard that you were preparing a film about Yves Saint Laurent. I think we should meet." so we met, and I didn't know you had so many pieces. But beside that, I was very interested to Olivier to read the script because, as I said, I was very obsessed with details, and he helped me for a few little things, you know, how someone is talking to someone, what gesture you make.
Yeah, I remember that. Not that many, two, three things.
Vocabulary stuff.
But
yes, for me, this is very, very, very important. And we, I think Olivier was interested by the decade that I chose. When you do interviews, everybody asks you, why did you choose these 10 years? And it's true, it's just because it's the most crazy, the most creative, and everything is said. You don't have to say more than that, I think.
Philippe, in this world that, you know, you see Saint Laurent with the film, the reacts all these, you know, en même temps cet abîme the permanent, you know, of the creators that go sometimes to the fields that are not the common fields of the human beings, and you see this, you know, when you talk about, you know, people like Galliano, things like that, and all this stuff, you feel that the world of the fashion now is so destructive that we can see it when we see it from outside, that we think that this competition, all these things, you know, that finish for destructing even the people that touch these things, even they work for the beauty, you know, they are almost, you know, destroyed by that beauty. Do you feel that these dangers, or you are completely, you can do it outside of all this in this moment? You know?
I think it's it's very, very demanding to deliver, you know, twice a year, like a statement that, you know, that has to please everyone, that you have to please yourself, and it's very, you know, it's Mr. Ungaro was saying earlier, there's a dangerous side of it, of very vampiresque work, and it has changed and evolved a lot. When I first started working, we were, you know, there was 2 collections a year. Now there's pre-collections, so there's the work has multiplied itself by 4, and it's more, and it gets to a stage that I think it can kill a bit of creativity and a time to let things breathe more naturally. And even for Mr. Saint Laurent, take a few years to assert his style. Today is expected of a young designer to get out of school and to have a style and be commercial and know how to talk and do all these things at the same time. So it's very demanding in a quite dangerous way, I think. But it's, you know, it's, I suppose, how, you know, evolution of things in general.
In your time was the same. Now, what did the ancient? Did you regret now that you're not ancient, or having to create all the time, to do everything, to be judged all the time? This competition, and you know, and how the lights were on at that time, all the how you now, do you miss that, and how you, and do you think it's the same that now, or it was worse? What was different? What happened now?
I don't know if it is different today. In fact, but I would say that the film of Bertrand is not on fashion. It's a film on personage in fashion, a human being, being who he was, and it was beautiful to take the personage Saint Laurent as a subject. But fashion is a word of very alive, even today. In my time, we had, first of all, high fashion. Fashion is born with high fashion, of course. Since many years, that was more than 100 years ago. And we had very great creators. But on my time, it was, in fact, very difficult in the sense of fashion had not, in my years, or the customers to make this house alive. We had to adapt ourselves to ready-to-wear, of course. It was a very great challenge. It was very amusing. It was as dangerous as was fashion, of course. But the problem was that we had to show at least 4 collections a year. Like, would you accept to have 4 examinations in university each year for many, many years? Would you accept that? That's the main problem. And you have to live. I was working 7 years a day, it's a week, and 12 hours a day. And so what? It was fantastic. To create, it was fantastic. It was like for Bertrand doing movies, it's the same. Fascination, pleasure, love, glamour, incredible. We're meeting people, incredible people. That is another world. We have now the imagination, the part of the life of a fashion designer in the world, because he has a strange life. In the same time, he has to be hard worker, very hard, and the other part has to be part of the mundanity. For me, it was very difficult because I love to work. I didn't like very much mundanity. That was the drama. But many designers are more prefer mundanity as to work. That was the difficulty for many designers. Because today, many designers said, where are the cameras? For themselves. No, not they have the feeling that they are more important than what they're doing. I'm part of fashion that was a very serious business, very hard business. It was not amusing at all. I was the people of Balenciaga, who was, for me, the most extraordinary example of what should be a designer, a creator more than the designer. He's a creator, real creator, and he was a master not just in his fashion business, on his life. For me, I remain very faithful to him because he gave to me so many things, not just the technical part of the business, but the spirit, the ethic, the moral. He refused any publicity. No one picture of Balenciaga appeared. No one. That was a rigor. He was a monk. In fact, the journalist said like Balenciaga was, the house Balenciaga was like a monastery. No, monastery? Exactly. Well, the monks working there. But it was fascinating. Really, it was incredible. But everything became different with the ready-to-wear. The world changed, but fashion changed completely. And many ready-to-wear designers were very talented, so are very talented even today. Well, here an example. And they took the power, which is normal, because life has to be renewed. You know, we have to fresh air. No, it's the same song, other words, in a certain way.
Philippe, do you have a Balenciaga in your life? Someone new?
Balenciaga is my...
No, in your life. Anyone that like Balenciaga for Emmanuel in your life?
No, not physically. I don't think I had the chance of working for someone that it was like a complete that I felt was like a mentor. I think I had them by distance, but not different people in different occasions. But it's funny that you talked about Mr. Balenciaga because it's my ultimate reference, and and I remember when I first went to fashion school, I didn't know much about fashion, and so I was in the library and I went to the fashion section because I just landed in fashion a bit by accident, and I picked a book on Balenciaga, and there was this extremely timeless and very modern and sculptural way of his work, and I thought that was extremely inspiring, and you could breathe in this work that rigor as well that Monsieur Garot was talking about.
And you, Bertrand, do you have in your reference someone like so present, like someone like in your work of that filmmaker like Emmanuel talked about Balenciaga?
A filmmaker.
Yes.
I have to say, for a long time and still now, I have a great admiration for. I'm not talking only about his films, but the way his career went for Francis Coppola, because it's one of the most crazy and clever way of going through everything and to understand always everything and to take risk always, all the time. And even now, he's like, 70 something? He takes risks, He's the most independent director today on earth. He pays his own film. He does what he wants. He feels like he's 18. He's been the Godfather. The Godfather died in the jungle. I mean, it's a novel, and great admiration for Coppola.
Bertrand, thank you for being here.
Thank you for the invitation.
The film is going to open in the 10 days. I hope you can keep saying what you think about the film, because he deserves to have a very good opening here in Portugal. I know that now you are involved in an Oscar competition. That is another kind of competition, and good luck. And
thank you. It's a long way still.
And see you soon, and good trip to Seville.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you.